My wife mentally abuses me, but she acts like I'm the problem. Every time I bring it up, she says I'm the one being mean. I'm starting to hate myself. I don't really know where to begin. I feel like I'm losing myself, like I'm stuck in a reality where everything is upside down, and I can't tell what's real anymore. I've rewritten this post so many times because I keep asking myself, is this abuse? Or am I just weak? But something inside me is breaking and I need to say it out loud, at least here. I, 34M, have been married to my wife, 33F, for 5 years. Together for 8. We were high school friends, then reconnected in our mid-20s and fell hard. We got married after dating for about 3 years. At the start, everything felt easy. She was smart, sarcastic in a funny way, ambitious. We had chemistry. She made me feel chosen. But somewhere along the way things changed. Or maybe they were always like this and I just didn't see it. At first I brushed it off. If I made a mistake, burned dinner, forgot to take out the trash, she'd roll her eyes and say something like, "You're useless sometimes, you know that?" Always with a half smile like it was a joke. Or she'd say, "God, do I have to do everything around here?" Even though we both work full-time and I do a lot of the chores. But it wasn't just chores. If I talked about my job and something went wrong, she'd say things like, "Well, maybe if you weren't so soft, your boss wouldn't walk all over you." Or if I expressed a personal opinion she didn't agree with, she'd scoff and say, "That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Do you even think before you talk?" Again, always said in that half-playful tone that made me second-guess whether I was overreacting. So I laughed it off. I thought, this is just her sense of humor. She's blunt. She doesn't mean harm. But it kept escalating. When we argue, which is often now, it doesn't matter what I say. If I bring up something that hurt me, she twists it back around on me. For example, last month she completely dismissed me in front of friends at dinner, cut me off, mocked something I said, and told a joke at my expense. I was humiliated. I waited until we got home and calmly told her. That made me feel small. It wasn't okay. She narrowed her eyes and said, "Wow. You really have a victim complex, don't you?" Then she added, "I can't believe you're trying to make me feel bad when you were being a dick all night." I wasn't. I know I wasn't. I was quiet most of the night, honestly. But after 10 minutes of that, I started wondering, was I rude? Did I sound snappy? Did I deserve that? This is how every fight goes. I try to calmly tell her something she did hurt me. She says I'm starting a fight, or that I'm being cruel, or that I need help. I never raise my voice. I never call her names. I tiptoe around my words. But it always ends the same, me apologizing even though I don't know what for. And her walking away like she's the victim. Here's the part that scares me. I've started to believe her. I question everything I say. I reread texts before sending them. I flinch when she walks in the room if I'm relaxing, because I'm afraid she'll accuse me of doing nothing again. I've stopped hanging out with friends. She doesn't like most of them anyway and calls them losers, or says I act different around them. When I try to carve out any space for myself, whether it's going to the gym, reading, or even just taking a long shower, she'll sigh or ask, "Must be nice to have all this free time while I handle the real work." Even though she isn't the only one doing anything. It's like anything I do for myself is framed as selfish. I've started believing that I'm a bad husband, that I am the mean one, that maybe I'm just too sensitive, too weak, that I'm somehow lucky she puts up with me. I look in the mirror now and barely recognize the man staring back. Everyone thinks she's so charming. She's funny and outgoing and knows exactly how to present herself around others. When I tried, very gently, to tell my sister something once, she seemed confused and said, "She's always been sweet to me." So I dropped it. No one would believe me. She doesn't yell or hit. She's not obvious. She's smart, calculated even, but I'm not crazy. I know what's happening. Right? I feel trapped. I keep thinking if I just try harder, love her more, communicate better, things will get easier. That maybe I am too sensitive and I need to man up. But I'm also exhausted and numb and increasingly anxious, even depressed. I've started waking up with this tight, crushing feeling in my chest that doesn't go away. Sometimes I wonder what would happen if I just left. But I also can't picture doing it. How do I leave someone I've built my life with? Someone I've loved? What if she's right about me? What if I am the problem? So yeah, that's where I'm at. Writing this down is the first real thing I've done for me in months. I don't even know what I'm looking for. Validation? Advice? Just to be heard, maybe. If anyone out there has ever felt like this, like you're being broken down piece by piece while someone smiles and tells you you're the problem, how did you find your way out? Because right now, I feel like I'm drowning in my own house. A man who's tired of apologizing for hurting. Update. My wife mentally abuses me but says I'm the mean one. I'm starting to hate myself. I again read it. I posted here a few weeks ago, original post here, about how my wife has been mentally and emotionally abusive, and how every time I bring it up, she tells me I'm the one being mean or dramatic. I said I was starting to hate myself, and honestly, that part hasn't changed much. But a few things have. I want to say thank you to everyone who commented, messaged me privately, or just offered support. I didn't expect the response I got. A lot of you used words I had never said out loud before: gaslighting, emotional abuse, manipulation, and it was terrifying but also validating. For the first time in a long time, I started to believe maybe I wasn't imagining all of this. So here's what's happened since that post. This might sound small, but it's been huge. I took someone's advice and started journaling, just quick notes when something happens, how I feel, what was said. It's helped me stay grounded. Because when I look back at what she said or how I felt, it reminds me that I'm not just overreacting. I'm responding to real patterns. One example, last week I brought up that I was feeling overwhelmed at work. She looked at me and said, "Oh my God, you complain more than anyone I know. Do you ever just deal with things like an adult?" I wrote that down. And when I reread it later, I didn't make excuses for her. I didn't minimize it. I just let it be what it was: unkind, unnecessary, and not okay. I told her I wanted us to go to couples counseling, that I felt like we were stuck in a toxic pattern and I didn't want to lose what we had. She laughed, like actually laughed. Then she said, "You want to pay someone to tell me how horrible I am? Wow, you're more dramatic than I thought." Then she called me emotionally unstable and said maybe I should go to therapy alone since I'm the one crying all the time. I'll admit, that one hit hard. I didn't even cry. I had calmly asked for help. But in her world, calm equals threatening, emotional equals manipulative, hurt equals weakness. It's like I'm not allowed to have a single feeling without her twisting it into a personal attack on her. So no, we're not in counseling. Not as a couple anyway. But I found someone local and booked a session. It felt terrifying walking into that room. I almost canceled, but I'm so glad I didn't. The therapist listened, really listened, and the first thing she said was, "You're not crazy, and you're not weak." That sentence cracked something open in me. I don't even think I realized how much I needed to hear it. She helped me name what I've been experiencing: chronic emotional invalidation, gaslighting, and identity erosion. She told me that what I'm feeling, confused, small, ashamed, afraid to speak, is exactly what emotional abuse looks like over time. Especially when the abuser masks it with passive aggression, sarcasm, or joking. She said it's death by 1,000 cuts. And I've been bleeding for a long time. I know some people might ask why I'm still here. And I wish I had a clean, courageous answer. But the truth is, it's complicated. She's still my wife. We built a life together. We have a home, mutual friends, history. I think part of me still hopes she'll suddenly wake up and realize what she's doing and want to change. But another part of me, the part that's been buried under guilt and fear, is starting to wonder if I need to change instead. Not to fix us, but to survive. The therapist told me something I haven't stopped thinking about. You are allowed to leave a relationship that's killing your spirit, even if no one else sees it happening. It hit me hard, because that's exactly what it feels like I'm slowly disappearing in front of everyone and no one even notices. Like I've become a ghost in my own marriage. I haven't told her. I'm not ready for that yet. But I've started doing small things: opening a separate bank account, organizing important documents, talking to a friend I trust. I don't know if I'll leave next month or 3 months from now or even this year. But I'm not frozen anymore. For the first time in years, I feel like I have a choice. That I don't have to keep apologizing just to keep the peace. That I don't have to live under this fog of confusion and fear forever. So yeah, that's where I am now. Not healed, not free, but awake. And maybe that's the first step. If you're reading this and you're in a similar place, feeling gaslit, invisible, constantly made to feel like you're the problem, I just want you to know, you're not crazy. You're not too sensitive. And you're not alone. Thanks for listening. Seriously. Still trying to find myself, but finally holding the map. Final update. My wife mentally abuses me, tells me I'm the problem, and I started to hate myself. Hey Reddit. This will probably be my last post. I wasn't expecting to share this much of my life online, but it's helped me more than I can explain. If you haven't seen my first 2 posts, the short version is, I was in a marriage where my wife emotionally and mentally wore me down. She'd insult me, dismiss my feelings, twist everything around, and every time I tried to speak up, she'd call me the abuser. I felt like I was disappearing inside my own life. Well, this is the part where everything changed. I moved out 3 weeks ago. It still doesn't feel real when I say it out loud. I packed what I could into my car, just clothes, documents, and a few personal things, and I drove to a friend's place. I had planned it quietly for weeks, saved some money, rented a small storage unit, had the key ready. I told no one except my therapist and my closest friend. I didn't tell her I was leaving until I was already gone. That morning, I left a letter on the counter. Not because I was trying to be dramatic, but because I knew if I tried to explain it to her face, she'd twist it, scream, cry, blame me, maybe even convince me to stay. I'd seen that cycle too many times. So I wrote everything down. Calmly, clearly, kindly, even. I told her I wasn't angry, but I couldn't keep shrinking to fit her anymore. I couldn't survive in a relationship where my feelings were constantly invalidated, where I was treated like a burden for having emotions, where love felt like a punishment. And then I left. First came the text. Are you serious right now? This is how you end a marriage. You're so dramatic. You're abandoning your responsibilities. You were never strong enough for me anyway. Then the guilt. You're ruining my life. Do you know how embarrassing this is for me? I was just trying to help you grow up. Then silence. And finally, performative sadness on social media. Quotes about being betrayed, vague "I deserve better" posts, sympathy bait. Classic deflection. But none of it touched me the way it used to. I didn't feel pulled back in. I didn't feel like the bad guy. I just felt tired. And then, slowly, I felt free. I sat on a cheap air mattress in my friend's spare room, surrounded by boxes, and cried harder than I have in years. Not out of regret, but because it hit me. It's over. I'm out. I'm really out. For the first time in a long time, no one rolled their eyes at me. No one sighed when I spoke. No one told me I was too sensitive for feeling anything at all. The silence didn't hurt. It healed. I still wake up sometimes expecting a fight. I still flinch when my phone buzzes. My self-worth is bruised. There are days I ask myself if I overreacted, if I could have worked harder, if maybe it was me the whole time. But then I reread my journal. I go back to those moments I wrote down, the insults, the manipulations, the confusion, and I remember, this didn't come out of nowhere. Abuse doesn't have to be physical to be real. Gaslighting is real. Doubting yourself constantly because someone else chips away at your reality? That's real. And leaving doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make you selfish. It means you remembered that you deserve peace too. I found a small one-bedroom apartment. It's not much, but it's mine. I've been in therapy every week. I go on walks every evening. I've reconnected with a few friends I had pushed away. I'm sleeping better. I'm eating again. I've even laughed, genuinely laughed, for the first time in what feels like years. No, I'm not ready to date. I'm not interested in jumping into anything. Right now, I'm just learning how to be alone without being lonely, how to breathe without fear, how to exist without apologizing for existing. If you're reading this and feeling what I felt, confused, ashamed, unsure of what's real, I need you to hear this. You're not imagining it. You're not too sensitive. You're not the problem just because someone convinced you you are. You don't need permission to leave a situation that's destroying you just because the pain isn't visible to everyone else. You're allowed to want kindness. You're allowed to want peace. You're allowed to be free. Thank you, Reddit, for being the first place I told the truth. Thank you for helping me see that I wasn't alone. You gave me a mirror when I couldn't recognize myself. Now, I'm learning how to be someone I'm proud of again. A man who finally walked away.